parents said, "You're fine on your own. She needs it more." After giving the car, Grandpa bought me to my sister. Grandpa found out, exposed the forgery, threatened legal action, and handed me everything back while my parents lost their minds at the table. Hey, Reddit. My folks always acted like my sister was royalty, and I was just there to survive. One day, things blew up so bad the whole family got dragged into it. But before we get to the chaos, let me tell you how it all started. My name's Jason Reed. I'm 24, live with my parents because rent around here is ridiculous, and work in a small office about 2 miles from our house. My family isn't rich, but we're not broke either. Dad's a contractor, Mom does bookkeeping, and my grandpa Henry basically built half this town back in his day. He's old school, tough guy, retired now but still sharp as a knife. People respect him. I graduated 2 years ago, been trying to build some kind of career since then. I work at a shipping company doing scheduling and logistics. Not glamorous, but it's a start. Here's the thing. Every morning, rain or shine, I walk to work. 2 miles there, 2 miles back. And this isn't some nice stroll through the park. Our weather is either pouring rain or freezing wind most of the year. People at work keep asking why I don't drive. I just say, "Don't have a car yet," and leave it at that. What I don't tell them is that my grandpa actually bought me a car after graduation. Brand new Toyota. I only found out a year later because my parents gave it to my younger sister Megan instead. Yeah, she's 20, still in college, goes to parties, posts selfies nonstop, that kind of thing. I didn't even know the car was mine until recently, but we'll get there. Anyway, back to the rain. That Monday morning, it was coming down sideways. The kind of rain where no umbrella on earth is big enough. My jacket was soaked through before I even hit the main road. By the time I got to the office, my shoes felt like I had buckets tied to my feet. I pushed through the front doors, dripping water everywhere, and the receptionist, Carrie, gave me that look she always gives me. Like she feels bad, but doesn't want to say it out loud. "Rough morning, Jason," she asked, handing me some paper towels. "Same as every day," I said, forcing a smile. My hair was plastered to my forehead, clothes sticking to me. Upstairs, I passed Sarah from accounting. She shook her head like she always does. "Why don't you just drive, man?" "If I had a car, maybe I would," I said, trying to make it sound like a joke. It wasn't funny, though. My hands were shaking from the cold as I sat at my desk. The worst part? My boss, Mr. Edwards, doesn't care about weather excuses. You're late, end of story. And being soaked through when I show up doesn't exactly scream promotion material. Last week, I overheard him telling another manager, "Jason's a hard worker, but he looks like he's barely holding it together." That stuck with me. So yeah, the walking thing wasn't just annoying, it was actually messing with my job. At lunch, Mark, this guy I talk to sometimes, sat across from me in the break room. "Man, you take the bus or what?" he asked, nodding at my still damp jacket hanging over a chair. "Nope. Walk seriously? 2 miles in this weather?" I shrugged. "Keeps me in shape." He laughed, shaking his head. "You're nuts." What was I supposed to say? Nah, my parents gave away the car that was supposed to be mine? I'm not saying that to a coworker. I had my pride. After work, it was still raining. I started the trek home, hood up, hands buried in my pockets. I cut through the park like I always do. There's this little wooden shelter near the basketball court where I sometimes stop to check my phone out of the rain. That day, I heard a voice before I even got close. Megan's voice. She was leaning against the shelter wall with one of her college friends, laughing into her phone. I was about to just walk past until I heard what she said. "Yeah, Grandpa bought me that Toyota." Sweet, right? Mom and Dad said I deserved it since I've got way more going on than Jason. He's fine walking. He doesn't do anything anyway. I froze, literally stopped in my tracks. Her friend asked something I couldn't hear over the rain, and Megan laughed again. "Jason? Please, he doesn't care. He's used to it." Used to it? I felt my face heat up even though I was half soaked and shivering. She had no idea I was standing maybe 10 feet away, hearing every word. I didn't say anything. Didn't even move until she walked off toward the parking lot, keys jingling in her hand. Then I saw it. The car. My car. Sitting there under the streetlight, clean and shiny while I stood there dripping like a stray dog. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about a car. It was about everything. The way my parents looked at me like I'd be fine no matter what, like I didn't need help, like Megan's life somehow mattered more. I walked the rest of the way home in the rain, fists jammed in my pockets, not even feeling the cold anymore, because now I knew the truth. The next day, I didn't say anything at breakfast. Megan was at the table scrolling her phone, chewing cereal like she had no care in the world. Mom was packing lunches. Dad was reading the news on his tablet. Normal morning, except I couldn't stop thinking about what I heard last night. I watched Megan grab the car keys from the counter like she owned the place. That was it. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice even. We need to talk about the car. She looked up for maybe half a second, then back at her phone. What car? The Toyota. The one Grandpa bought. It was supposed to be mine. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my God, are you serious? Mom and Dad already told me it made more sense for me to have it. You don't even go anywhere. I stared at her. I walk to work every day, Megan. 2 miles. In the rain. That car was meant for me. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. You're so dramatic. It's just a car. I actually have a life, you know? College, parties, friends. You're like, what? Work and home. Work and home. Boring. That hit harder than it should have. Dad finally looked up from the tablet. It's 2 miles for you, son. 2 buses and a transfer for her. From a purely practical standpoint, the car covers more ground with Megan. Practical for who? I said. You could have told me. Instead, I find out because I overheard her bragging about it. Megan shrugged like I was complaining about the weather. You didn't need it. I did. End of story. Mom chimed in without looking at me, just tossing something into the trash. Jason, you've always been fine on your own. Megan needs more help right now. She's younger. College is expensive. Just let it go. That line, you've always been fine on your own. I'd heard it before. When Megan got a laptop for school while I used the old family desktop, when she got her phone upgraded first because she's younger and needs to stay connected, even when birthdays came around and hers turned into big parties while mine were just cake at home. I didn't say anything back then. I thought it didn't matter. But standing there now, dripping anger instead of rainwater, I realized it had been years of the same thing. Megan first. Always Megan. I looked right at her. You knew it was mine. She put her phone down finally, smirking. Yeah, and? I still got it, didn't I? I wanted to say a lot right then, but Dad's voice cut in. That's enough, both of you. Jason, don't start fights over nothing. Nothing. That word kept bouncing around in my head. I grabbed my jacket off the chair. Fine, I said. Enjoy the car. Megan snorted like it was funny. Don't be so salty, Jason. Maybe when I'm done with it, you can have what's left. I left before I said something I couldn't take back. Work was rough that day. I kept replaying the morning in my head. Megan's smirk. Dad calling it nothing. Mom not even looking at me when she said Megan needed more help. By lunch, I couldn't focus on anything. Mark noticed. You good, man? You look like you're about to punch a wall. Family stuff, I said, keeping it short. The rain started again around 5. Not just light rain either. Full sideways wind, water coming down in sheets. The kind where cars drive through puddles and splash the sidewalks. And there I was, walking like always. I cut through the same park on the way home. By then it was dark, streetlights glowing off the wet pavement. My hood kept blowing back in the wind. Halfway through, I slipped on the sidewalk, feet right out from under me. Landed hard on my elbow. Pain shot up my arm so bad I couldn't move for a second. Whoa, you okay? I looked up. Mark. He'd been driving by and saw me go down. Yeah, I muttered, trying to stand. My elbow said otherwise. Get in, he said, unlocking his car. You're gonna freeze out here. I didn't argue. On the drive home, Mark kept glancing at me. You seriously walk in this every day? Yeah. Man, you need a car. I told him everything. About Grandpa. About Megan. About my parents. I told him I'd only found out last week the car was meant for me. But the words stuck. He just nodded. Mark dropped me off in front of the house. Get that arm checked, he said. Yeah, thanks. Inside, Megan's car wasn't in the driveway. Figures. She was probably out with friends while I sat there soaked and hurting. That was the night I decided something was going to change. Sunday morning, I was at home nursing a sore elbow from that fall in the rain. Megan was gone early, probably off to brunch or whatever she does on weekends. Mom was cleaning. Dad was out back messing with the grill even though it was too cold for it. Grandpa Henry called around noon. Jason, he said, voice sharp like always. You free tonight? Yeah, I said. Good. Whole family's coming for dinner. 6 o'clock. Don't be late. That was it. No explanation. Typical Henry. I didn't think much of it at first. He has these family dinners every couple months. Usually nothing dramatic, just food and him giving people updates about his garden or whatever project he's into. But there was something in his tone this time. Short. Clipped. Later, I found out what happened. My coworker Mark goes to the same church as Grandpa Henry. Small town, everybody knows everybody. After Sunday service that morning, Mark was talking to Henry about how nice it was that he bought that new car for his granddaughter. Henry said, "Granddaughter?" Mark nodded. "Yeah, Megan. She drives it to campus all the time. Jason told me you gave it to her after graduation. Real generous of you." Henry didn't say much back. Just gave one of those tight smiles he does when he's mad. Mark said he walked off without another word. So yeah, by the time dinner rolled around, Grandpa already knew something was off. When we got to his place that evening, you could feel it right away. The man wasn't smiling. Normally he greets everybody at the door, makes small talk, pours drinks. Not tonight. He just nodded and told us to sit. The whole family was there. Me, Mom, Dad, Megan, even Aunt Carol and Uncle Steve with their 2 kids. Big table, big meal, but quiet. We ate for a few minutes with just the sound of silverware clinking. Then Henry spoke. "Jason," he said, looking straight at me, "how's the car?" I froze. Megan's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Mom glanced at Dad. Dad cleared his throat. "What car?" I said, even though I knew exactly what he meant. Henry's eyes narrowed. "The Toyota I bought you for graduation." The table went dead silent. Aunt Carol stopped chewing. Uncle Steve raised his eyebrows like he already knew this was about to get ugly. Megan finally spoke. "Oh, that car? Grandpa, Mom, and Dad said it was better for me to have it. Jason doesn't mind." I turned to her. "Doesn't mind? You've been driving past me in the rain for a year." She shrugged. "You never said anything." Henry didn't raise his voice. He set his fork down with care and folded his hands. "Thomas, Linda, explain." Dad held up his hands. "Dad, relax. We thought it made sense. Jason works close by. Megan has classes across town. Late nights. She needed it more. You forged his name on the paperwork," Henry said. Not a question. A statement. Mom didn't look at me. "Jason, your sister's younger. Late classes. Ride shares falling through. She needs the safety net right now." I felt my chest tighten. "Handouts? It was mine. You didn't even tell me." Megan rolled her eyes. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." Henry turned on her so fast she actually leaned back in her chair. "You knew it was for him? She kept the car on campus most weeks. No Sunday drives by Henry's place, no chance meetings, so he never saw her in it." She smirked like it was nothing. "I figured, but Mom said, I don't care what your mother said." His voice was like a whip. "I bought it for Jason. It was in his name. You had no right." Dad tried again. "Dad, Megan's young. She's got more going on. Jason can handle himself. He always has." That line again. He can handle himself. Like that made it okay. Henry's face went red. "So because he doesn't complain, you take advantage? Is that it?" Nobody answered. I finally spoke up. "I've been late to work because of this. Missed opportunities. I walk home in storms while they hand her the keys. And you all just, what? Pretend it's fine?" Megan muttered under her breath. "It's not the end of the world." Henry heard it. "Not the end of the world?" He stood so fast his chair tipped. "You let him suffer so she could play princess with something that wasn't hers. And you lied to me about it." Dad's jaw tightened. "Dad, you're making a scene." Henry leaned over the table, eyes locked on him. "You haven't seen me make a scene yet." The room went silent again. You could hear the clock ticking in the hall. Then Henry said, calm but cold, "After dinner, we're fixing this." Tonight. Nobody argued after that. The tension in that dining room felt like the air before a thunderstorm. Nobody touched their food after Grandpa Henry said we were fixing it tonight. Megan sat with her arms crossed like she was the victim. Mom kept her eyes on her plate. Dad stared at Henry like he was trying to stare him down. But everyone knew Henry always won those battles. Henry pointed right at Dad. "Thomas, you tell me right now why you thought it was okay to forge your own son's name on something I bought for him." Dad set his fork down slowly. "I already told you." Megan had a bigger need. Jason works close by. He doesn't need a car for a 2-mile commute. She's in college, late nights, different campuses. "Stop." Henry's voice cut him off like a knife. "Don't stand there and justify stealing from one child to spoil the other." Mom finally spoke up, soft but defensive. "Dad, it wasn't stealing. It's all in the family. Jason's always been the strong one. He never needed as much help as Megan. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You call walking to work in storms not needing help? You think showing up drenched, late, freezing, while she drives by laughing with her friends is fine?" Megan rolled her eyes. "I never laughed at you." "Yes, you did," I shot back. "Last week. You drove right by while I was soaked to the bone. You waved out the window." For a blink, she looked guilty. Then the smirk slid back into place. "That was just me saying hi," she said, smirking like it was all a joke. Henry slammed his hand on the table. The plates jumped. You think this is funny, Megan? Watching your brother struggle while you ride around in something that wasn't even yours? She flinched a little but kept her mouth shut. Henry turned to Dad again. Where are the papers? The title. Dad shifted in his chair. At home. Mom tried to step in again. Dad, you're overreacting. Megan's used to the car now. Taking it away will ruin everything for her classes. Henry cut her off. And what about Jason's life? Did that matter at all while you two were playing favorites? Dad's jaw tightened. It's not favoritism. Jason doesn't complain. He handles things. I looked right at him. Maybe I don't complain because you don't listen anyway. That shut him up for a second. Megan finally snapped, throwing her napkin down. Oh my God. This is ridiculous. It's just a car. Jason can buy his own if it's that serious. Henry's head turned so fast toward her, I thought she might actually shrink into her chair. You're driving something you had no right to. Bought with my money. Meant for him. And you sit here acting like it's nothing. She crossed her arms again, muttering, whatever. Henry leaned on the table, both hands flat. Thomas, Linda, I've watched for years while you spoil one kid and expect the other to survive on scraps. It ends tonight. Mom's face went red. Dad, don't talk like that in front of everyone. Why not? Henry shot back. Maybe everyone should see what kind of parents you've been. Aunt Carol cleared her throat like she wanted to disappear. Uncle Steve just kept eating slowly like he was watching TV. Dad's voice rose. You're making this bigger than it is. We did what made sense. No, Henry said, pointing right at him. You did what was easy. You gave the loud one everything and left the quiet one to fend for himself. Because it cost you nothing to ignore him. I felt my stomach twist because he was right. Megan muttered, It's still not fair to just take it now. Henry's voice dropped low. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Jason's been walking through storms while you drive past him in his car? Forged paperwork? Lies? And you call that fair? Nobody said a word. Henry pushed his chair back. After dinner, we get the title. Then tomorrow, the car goes to Jason. If you refuse, I call the lawyer and the police. Forgery's a crime, Thomas's. Dad's face went pale at the word crime. Mom started to say something, but Henry held up a hand. Not another word. You've done enough talking. The room stayed dead silent except for the clock ticking on the wall. You could feel the whole thing splitting the family right down the middle. Henry sat back down, still glaring at Dad. Eat your food, then we settle this. Nobody had much of an appetite after that. Dinner ended with barely anyone touching the food. As soon as plates were cleared, Henry stood up and told Dad to follow him. Where are we going? Dad asked. Your house, Henry said. We're getting the paperwork right now. Nobody argued. Mom looked nervous but didn't say a word. Megan huffed like this was the biggest inconvenience in the world. Aunt Carol and Uncle Steve stayed behind with the kids while the rest of us drove back. At the house, Dad went straight to the filing cabinet in the office. Henry stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes locked on him the whole time. Dad pulled out a folder and handed it over. Henry opened it, flipping through slowly. Then he stopped, held up one page, and his face went hard. Jason, he said, come here. I walked over. At the top of the page was my name, neat and typed. At the bottom, a signature that wasn't mine. Henry turned on Dad. You forged his signature to transfer the title to Megan. Most of the mail and the insurance were under my parents' address and policy anyway. Anything from the DMV went straight to them. Dad didn't even deny it. It was just easier that way. Jason was at work. We needed the paperwork done fast. Fast? Henry snapped. You needed it fast so you could give away something that wasn't yours. That's what you mean. Mom jumped in from the hallway. Dad, stop acting like this is criminal. It's family business. We were just trying to help Megan. Help her? Henry's voice was rising now. You lied to me. You stole from him. You left him to freeze in the rain while you played favorites. And now I see forgery on top of it. Megan leaned against the wall, arms crossed. It's still just a car. You're all acting like it's life or death. Henry wheeled on her. It's not about the car anymore. It's about respect, about fairness, about the way this family treats Jason like he doesn't matter. She rolled her eyes. Whatever. This is so dramatic. I finally spoke. Megan, you knew it was mine. You saw me walking every day. You knew what Mom and Dad did, and you didn't care. She shrugged. I didn't ask for it. They gave it to me. And you didn't refuse either, I said. You drove right by me like it was funny. Her mouth opened like she had a comeback, but nothing came out. Henry turned back to Dad. You forged his name for what? So she could ride around like some queen while he works his tail off? What else have you lied about? Dad slammed the drawer shut. Nothing. We just thought Megan needed it more. Henry held up the paper. You understand this is illegal, right? Forging a signature? Dad glared. You wouldn't call the cops on your own son. You want to test me? Henry's voice was ice. Because I will. This ends tonight. Mom's voice went sharp. Dad, you can't just undo everything. Megan's used to the car now. Taking it away will mess up her whole semester. Henry pointed at me. And what about Jason's life? Did it matter at all to you? Did it matter when he walked through storms while you two covered for her? Did it matter when he showed up to work soaked while Megan blasted music driving by in his car? Mom went quiet. Henry shoved the folder into my hands. This belongs to you. Tomorrow we change the title back legally. If Thomas or Linda so much as hesitate, I call the lawyer myself. Dad's face turned red. Dad, this is insane. We're family. Henry didn't back down. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't lie. You lost the right to hide behind that word the second you pulled this stunt. The room went silent except for the rain hitting the windows. Then Henry spoke again, slower this time. And since you clearly can't be trusted, there's something else you all need to know. Mom frowned. What are you talking about? Henry looked right at me. I've been saving money for Jason since he was a kid. A trust fund. Plan to give it to him later, but now, after this, I'm moving it out of your control permanently. Mom's jaw dropped. Dad stiffened like someone had punched him. Megan stopped smirking. You can't just do that, Dad said. I can, Henry replied. And I will. Because you've shown me what happens when you're in charge of anything that belongs to him. Mom's voice rose. Dad, be reasonable. We needed to help Megan. She's younger. She needs support. Henry cut her off. No. What you mean is Jason can suffer while Megan coasts through life. You've been doing it for years. It ends tonight. Nobody spoke after that. Henry turned to me. Tomorrow morning, you'll have the car in your name. And the trust. I'll handle everything myself. Dad looked like he wanted to argue, but even he knew it was over. Monday morning, Henry showed up at our house before anyone was even dressed. He was holding a thick envelope under his arm. He didn't knock. Just walked in like he owned the place. Which honestly, he kind of did. Jason, he said, handing me the envelope right there in the living room. This is yours. Dad came down the stairs buttoning his shirt. Dad, what's going on now? Henry didn't even look at him. I told you last night. We're done playing games. Jason gets the car back today. And he gets this. I opened the envelope. Inside were bank statements, legal documents, everything with my name printed clearly at the top. A trust fund. Way bigger than I expected. Mom came in from the kitchen, eyes already narrowing. Dad, this isn't fair. We didn't even know about this. That's the point, Henry said. I kept it private because I thought I could trust you not to screw him over with what little you did know. Clearly, I was wrong. Megan shuffled in, still in pajamas, hair a mess. She saw the envelope in my hands and froze. Wait, she said slowly. What is that? Henry didn't sugarcoat it. Money I've been saving for Jason since he was a kid. Investments, savings accounts, all of it. He gets full control starting today. Megan's jaw dropped. Why him? What about me? Henry turned on her. What about you? You've taken enough that didn't belong to you already. She crossed her arms. This is ridiculous. You're punishing me for Mom and Dad's decision. I spoke up. You didn't exactly fight them on it, Megan. You knew the car was mine. You watched me walking in the rain while you drove past. She bit her lip, but didn't say anything. Dad finally snapped. Dad, you can't just hand him everything like this. We're his parents. We should have some say in this. Henry stepped closer, his voice sharp. You had your chance to look out for him. Instead, you forged his name, lied to me, and spoiled one kid while ignoring the other. You're done having a say. Mom's voice rose, tight and angry. You always favor Jason. Megan's the younger one. She needs more help. Enough. Henry cut her off. Every time you say that, what you really mean is Jason can carry all the weight while Megan coasts through life. You call it helping her, but it's just easier for you. You think because Jason doesn't complain, it doesn't hurt him? You've turned him into the pack mule of this family. That hit harder than I expected. Because it was true. Megan tried again. You act like I stole the car myself. I just took what they gave me. Henry pointed at her. And you never once thought to give it back when you found out it wasn't yours? Never once thought about your brother walking to work every day? She didn't answer. Henry turned back to Dad. I warned you last night. We transfer the car title today. I already called my lawyer this morning. If you refuse, we press charges for forgery. Dad looked stunned. You wouldn't drag this family into court. You did that, Henry said flatly. The moment you decided one child deserved everything and the other got nothing. The room went dead quiet. I looked down at the documents again. My name everywhere. Accounts I never knew existed. Years of savings, investments, enough to change everything. Megan muttered, "So he gets the car and the money? That's insane." Henry shot her a look that shut her up instantly. "Jason gets what was always his? You had no right to any of it." Mom tried one last time. "Dad, be reasonable. Megan's classes, her life. It all depends on that car now. You're ruining her future over some paperwork." Henry's eyes went cold. "And what about Jason's future? Did it matter when you made him walk in freezing rain while she drove past? Did it matter when you lied to his face about something meant for him?" Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. Henry handed me another paper. "This gives you full control of the trust starting today. They can't touch a dime of it, and they won't touch the car again either." The lawyer had already filed the transfer. The bank would flip full access as soon as processing cleared. Dad stared at the floor. Megan looked like she wanted to scream, but couldn't find the words. I finally said it out loud. "I'm done letting you all treat me like I don't matter. I'm not your afterthought anymore." Henry nodded like he'd been waiting to hear that. "Good, because things change, starting now. And if anyone here tries to stop it, I'll drag this whole thing to court myself." Nobody argued this time. By noon that same day, Henry had me and Dad at the DMV. He wasn't giving anyone time to think this over or try to back out. The clerk looked over the paperwork, typed a few things into her computer, and handed me the new title. My name. Not Megan's, not my parents'. Mine. Dad stood there stiff the whole time, jaw tight, not saying a word. Henry didn't even look at him. When we walked back out into the parking lot, the Toyota was sitting right there. For the first time since this whole thing started, I had the keys in my hand. Henry clapped me on the shoulder. "It's yours now," the way it should have been from the start. Dad muttered, "This could have been handled differently." Henry turned on him fast. "No, you had your chance to handle it, and you blew it. You lied, forged papers, and left your son to walk in the rain while you spoiled Megan rotten. Don't stand here acting like the victim." Dad didn't say anything after that. When we got back to the house, Mom was waiting. Henry had me call the insurer from the DMV lot. The policy moved under my name, and I took both sets of keys. She saw the keys in my hand and the title folder under my arm, and her face went tight. "So that's it?" she said. "You just take it away from Megan like she doesn't matter?" Henry glared at her. "You made Jason not matter for a year. Now you're upset Megan loses something that was never hers? Unbelievable." Megan came down the stairs then, saw the folder, and stopped cold. "You actually did it?" I nodded. "It's mine now. Legally." Her arms crossed instantly. "This is such crap. I need that car for school. How am I supposed to get around now?" Henry didn't let her finish. "Maybe ask the parents who caused this mess. Or try walking like your brother's been doing for a year. Actions have consequences, Megan." She glared at him, but didn't talk back this time. Henry pulled the trust paperwork out of the folder and set it on the table. "Jason, this gives you full control starting today. Bank accounts, investments, everything in your name alone. Your parents have zero access. I've already called the bank to confirm." Mom snapped, "You can't cut us out like this." That money was supposed to be for the family. Henry's voice went cold. "No, it was for Jason. I saved every dime myself. You didn't even know it existed. And after this stunt, you never will again." Dad finally spoke up. "You're tearing this family apart over one mistake." "One mistake?" Henry's hand hit the table so hard the papers jumped. "You stole from your own son. Lied about it. Let him suffer so Megan could play queen. That's not one mistake. That's who you are." The room went silent. I signed the paperwork while they all watched. Henry stood beside me the whole time like a witness. When I finished, he said loud enough for everyone to hear, "It's done. Jason controls his own future now. Nobody here touches what's his ever again." Mom tried again, voice sharp now. "So what? He just takes the car, the money, everything?" After we raised him, I looked straight at her. "You raised me to carry everything while Megan got handed everything. You don't get to play the hero now." Megan muttered, "You're acting like you had it so bad." I turned to her. "You drove by me in the rain while I walked miles to work. You knew the car was mine. You said nothing. You laughed. So yeah, Megan, I had it bad enough." She looked away, arms still crossed. No comeback this time. Henry faced my parents. "You two should be ashamed. You talk about family, but you only ever looked out for one kid? The other you left behind because it was easier for you." Dad's face was red. Mom's lips were tight. Neither spoke. Henry looked at me then. "You have the car, the trust. Use both to build something better. Move out if you want. Start fresh. You don't owe them anything now." And for the first time, I realized I didn't. That evening, I packed my things. Just the essentials for now. The house was tense and silent while I loaded the car. Mom sat at the table staring at nothing. Dad stood outside smoking, saying nothing. Megan stayed in her room with the door shut. Henry helped me carry the last box. You sure about this? He asked. Yeah, I said. It's time. He nodded once. Good. Don't let them drag you back into their mess. I drove away before dark. Rain started again halfway across town, but this time I was dry, warm, in a car that was actually mine. I didn't know exactly where I was headed yet. Maybe an apartment, maybe somewhere farther away. But I knew one thing. I wasn't coming back to be the family's afterthought again. They could keep their excuses. I had the keys, the trust, and for the first time in years, control over my own life. And I wasn't giving it back.